Hello everyone, thanks for taking the time to join us today. Welcome to our webinar on SYSTRONICS products for Sage 300 ERP. The webinar will be presented to you by our product manager, Lucine Sarkisian. My name is Naire and I'm the marketing coordinator at SYSTRONICS. We hope you will enjoy the presentation and will find the webinar useful. Lucine?
Thank you, Naira. Hi everyone, I would also like to welcome you to our webinar. And I would like to start it with AR/AP settlements demo. AR/AP settlements is an application which is useful when you are buying and selling to the same entity. For this reason, in Akkad you have defined customers and vendors, but it is actually the same entity, the same company. Let me show you how this application can help you. The basic of the AR/AP settlement module is the group. We call it settlement group. Now, settlement group is your entity. For example, I have group 5, which is Amcor Technology, and there are 2 customers which represent this entity in my receivables, and there are 3 vendors which represent this entity in my payables. Now, how the application can help you? Firstly, the application can help you to identify how much actually you owe the entity or the entity owes you. For that reason, you can go to, so we call it settlement group statement. So you can print this report for the group or for a range of groups. And you will see here all the documents which are pending from the customers in the group. You will see the total receivables from the group. You will see all the vendors, on the vendor documents which are pending in the group, total payables in the group, and the net change, the net. Whether, now in my case, actually the group owes me about $295,000. What I can do with this information, actually the system can help me further. It can help me to settle these documents with each other. I'll show you this how. So it's a settlement transaction. Let me just show you one. When I select here the settlement group, I have receivables tab and payables tab. Now on receivables tab, I can see all the transactions from the customers which belong to the group. For example, I had 2 customers in group 5, and I see all the open documents from these customers on my receivables tab. Similarly, on the payables tab, I see the transactions, open documents from the vendors in that settlement group. I had 3 vendors in my settlement group, and I see documents belonging to these vendors. Now what I can do here, I can either settle these documents manually against one another. For example, I can come here and I can select, let's say, this invoice. Let me just change the date of the transaction. This is because adjustment cannot be done earlier than the transaction date, and my transaction date is earlier, so let me just change it so I will not have an issue with that. So I'll just select the document which I want to settle. I can select the next document which I want to settle, then move to the payables tab and select here against which documents I want to settle. For example, those 2 documents from accounts receivable, I want to settle against this document and this document, and the remaining I want to settle against this document. So this is manually. I select which document I want to settle against which document. But there is another option here. I can tell the system to do this settlement for me automatically. When I click automatic settlement button, the system it goes and it identifies whatever side is less. For example, in my case, payable is less. It settles all the documents in payable side against selected documents on the receivable side. Now this selection of the documents on the receivable side depends by due date, document date, or document number, whatever you have selected in the order by option. Once the settlement is done and you are happy with it, you can add the transaction. You can also print a settlement form. This can be sent to that entity, and you will be informing them by this form which documents you have settled against which documents. And you can post the transaction like standard Account batch processing. When you post these transactions, there are AR and AP adjustment transactions created for each document which is being settled, and these transactions will be reducing the balance of the documents correspondingly. And the application has one more feature which I would like to show you. We have customized AP and AR transactions, AP payments and AR receipts. Let me show you an example of that. Imagine that you are going to pay to one of the vendors which belongs to the group. So you'll start your payment entry and select the vendor. And see what happens here. This is the standard payment entry screen. The only difference is we have a small legend here, let's call it that way. It shows me to which settlement group this vendor belongs and how much the customers in that settlement group owe me. For example, I can see here that the customers actually owe me a lot of money, and before making payment to this vendor, I'll think twice whether maybe it's more appropriate to go and settle this document instead of making payment. Similarly, there is such addition on the receipt, the customer receipt tab. Okay, so this is AR/AP settlement module, which is useful when the same customer and vendors are when the same entity is defined as both customer and vendor in your company. Let's move to the next application. Next, I would like to present revenue and expense deferrals, which helps companies with amortization of maintenance and service-related contract revenue and expense amounts over the life of the contract. Revenue deferrals work on optional fields. Let me show you one simple example of how revenue deferrals differs, i.e. takes amounts from the original, let's say, revenue account and puts it to the deferred revenue account, and how it recognizes the amounts during the lifetime of the contract. I put the portion of this amount back to the original revenue account. I'll just log into my revenue and expense deferrals company. Okay. So what I'll do here, I'll start my processing. I'll be processing a sale order for subscription, 1-year subscription. The transaction I will be entering as usual, so customer 1,400 has purchased from me 1-year subscription, and the price is appearing automatically because this is linked to my price list. And what I will do here also, I will define for which period is this subscription. In my case, the subscription is from 1st of June and till 31st of May next year. Okay. Then I proceed as usual. I ship my items, in this case it's just a service. I'll create an invoice. Let me just give a number to this invoice so it will be easier for us to track. RV. And I'm posting this transaction now. Now, of course, it will create a transaction in accounts receivable. I'll post this transaction as well. And this will create, in its turn, a transaction in general ledger. Before posting this transaction in general ledger, I wanted to show you something. See, I have set up my Account in a way that these optional fields are transferred, the values of these optional fields are transferred from order entry to my general ledger. Now the information is here. And I'll post this transaction in general ledger as well. Well, obviously, if you have set up your ACPAC in a way that the invoice posted in order entry is automatically posted in GL, then no need to do these intermediary steps. Okay. Once the transaction is posted in general ledger, I can run my revenue and expense deferrals. Let's see what it will do. Okay. It says that there has been a deferral batch created and there has been a recognition batch created. Let's understand what this is. Deferral batch is a transaction in general ledger which will remove the amount of my revenue and put it as a deferred revenue. So let's go to GL and see this there. So now 1,000 of my invoice amount has been deferred. It has been removed, debited to the from the sale account to my deferred revenue account. But application did something else. Let me show you this here. It not only removed the amount, but it also created a schedule how this amount should be recognized in next period. So in my case, I have a straight line method and it will recognize all of them equally. That's why it has put that within next year, it will be recognizing $83.43 each month. And because the first one is already due, my session date is June 30th, it has already recognized the first schedule. Let me show you how it has recognized it. See, it has put back this $83 from deferred revenue account to my revenue account, actual revenue account. Okay. I told you in the beginning that the end user has to enter, the user who is entering the order entry has to enter the start date and end date of the subscription. But this is not entirely true, because if your contracts are standardized, then you can create templates in revenue and expense deferrals. When you are creating a template, you can define that what is the start date. For example, on this template, the start date of the contract is the same as the invoice date, and the end date of the contract is 1 year after the invoice date. Similarly, you can define what contracts you have, and you can link this with order and with inventory control items via optional fields, and the user will not have to do any additional work. This will automatically be there. There are two more things which I want to mention about revenue and expense deferral. I showed you an example of revenue, right? How you defer and recognize your revenue. Exact same way you can defer and recognize your expenses. The other thing I want to tell is I started the transaction from the very beginning, from the order entry, but you can start from anywhere you want. The only requirement for revenue and expense deferral is that the transaction is posted in general ledger and the required optional fields have the required values with them. So it can be an AP invoice, it can even be a third-party transaction which has created a transaction in general ledger, as long as it supports optional fields, and they will take care of such transactions. Okay, so let's recap that revenue and expense deferrals, it allows you to prorate your revenues and expenses from the invoice during the entire duration of the contract. Let's move to the next application, which is ToolPac. ToolPac is a diagnostic tool which allows you to identify discrepancies between GL and subledgers. It is coming in with different toolsets, and each toolset is meant for different module. So AR toolset allows you to reconcile AR control account between GL and AR. AP toolset allows to reconcile AP control account between GL and AP. IC toolset, obviously, inventory control account between GL and inventory control. A PO toolset allows you to reconcile payable clearing accounts, and OE toolset allows you to reconcile shipment clearing accounts. ToolPac is an external application, and it is launched from your Start menu. So it's here as SYSTRONICS ToolPac. Obviously, you can create a shortcut of this on your desktop and launch it from there. Okay. I have planned to show you today only the PO toolset because this is the one which contains most of the tools. You can see the tools on the right side here. So there is PO receipt tool. This is an inquiry tool with a corresponding report which allows you to easily identify what are the receipts for which you haven't received any invoices yet, or for which you have received the invoices partially. These two, together with the return status tool, are unique in this set because they are not reconciling between GL and PO, but they are within the PO module itself. They are matching the PO receipts with PO invoices. And return status is matching the returns with credit notes. Let me show you one example of this. So for example, if I deselect Show Completed Receipts, I will see here that there are only two receipts which are not fully invoiced. First receipt is partially invoiced because I see here the invoice of that receipt. And the second receipt doesn't have any invoice with it yet. And of course, this report is possible to print as well. And next, return status tool, similarly. I can see that I have one return only in my system, and this one doesn't have any credit note associated with it. So it can be printed as well. Now the next three tools, they are for GL and Payables Clearing Account Reconciliation. The first tool here is Payables Clearing Account Net Changes. This tool allows us to easily identify whether we have a period where there is a mismatch between GL and PO. When I'm running this tool, you can see here that I have black lines and red lines. Black lines are the ones where I don't have any issues, everything is matching, but there are two red lines. These two red lines indicate that I have issue in this period. Now, why do I have issue? Which transactions are causing this issue? To answer these questions, you either double-click on this line, or you go and you select the fourth tool, Payables Clearing Account Reconciliation tool. I want to mention here also something that ToolPac allows you to identify which transactions are causing the issue, but it is not going to automatically rectify an issue. This has to be done by the user, for example, by creating a GL transaction or posting whatever he forgot to post, etc. Now let's see what we have here. I have two transactions which are in accounts payable and purchase order modules, AP invoice and PO receipt, which don't have a match in general ledger. And I have a lot of transactions in general ledger which don't have match in accounts payable as accounts payable invoice or PO receipt. Well, just by looking on this, I understand that somebody wrongly posted the IC receipt to my clearing account. That's why I don't have match. Now what I can do here, I can continue after the system match reconciles transaction automatically, I can reconcile the remaining transactions manually. To do this reconciliation, I will just select the transactions I want to match with each other. And then say reconcile marked transactions. Now look, when I said reconcile marked transactions, the line disappeared from my not reconciled GL transactions and appeared as a matching transaction for this PO receipt. But this line is in blue. Blue means that, okay, you have reconciled, but you did something wrong because you reconciled $50 with $55. So something is wrong there. And even if you go to that line, you will see that it shows the group variance is $5. I just want to mention one more thing here. You can reconcile, like your reconciliation can be many to many. For example, you can select one transaction here and multiple transactions here, or multiple transactions here and multiple here, and then reconcile them together. Okay. Okay, so this is the fourth tool in the PO toolset. And the last tool available, as the name is saying, is for PO and AP invoice reconciliation. This tool allows you to identify whether there are any PO invoices which were posted, basically they didn't reach to deal because something happened in accounts payable. For example, I can see that I have two invoices, two transactions in PO which are not matched in accounts payable transactions, accounts payable invoices. There can be various reasons for that. For example, I can see that the invoice number here is the same, but the amounts are different. This is one reason, like somebody in accounts payable opened the batch, changed the amount. That's why I'm having an issue. The other reason is just somebody deleted the transaction in accounts payable or forgot to post the transaction in accounts payable. It's not posted yet. So again, same logic works here. If I want to match it, I will just drag and drop for manual reconciliation, but I will end up having the blue line because my amounts are not matching. They are not equal. Okay. And again, I would like to mention here that other tool sets behave similarly, and each tool set can be subscribed separately. So if you have an issue, for example, in your AP control account, you can just subscribe for AP toolset. No need to get all 5 toolsets. Okay, let's move to the next product, which we wanted to show you today. It is document attachment applets. As the name is saying, these applets are for attaching documents, and it allows you to attach documents to transactions or master data, depending on what is the applet for. I'll show you the list of the applets which we are shipping currently a little bit later. Now I want to show you example of 2 applets. IC item applet and AP invoice entry applet. Let's see this. Okay, let me just log into my company for document attachment applet. Okay. So what I have done here, I have already added the applet as a shortcut to my Applet desktop. I have put it as a shortcut with the name items with attachment. Let's see what is applet. So this is IC item applet, as I already said. So it is almost exactly the replica of IC item screen of Applet. The only variance is that it has something called attachments, a button called attachments. When I go to this button, I have defined my system, set up my system in a way that I'm going to attach images to my item. Now I have already attached an image to my lamp. Let's see how this lamp looks like. So I'll just go there, double click and say show me the image of the lamp. And attaching of an image is very simple as well. Let me just find an item which does not have any image attached to it. You just right click, attach, click attach, find the image, browse for the image for the document you want to attach or the image you want to attach, and save. That's it. You have now the attachment attached to the document attached to your item. Similarly, I'll show you another one. This is like a master file. I'll show you another one for a transaction. And for the transaction, I have selected accounts payable entry, invoice entry. Again, I have already added the entry, applet for the entry to my Applet desktop. Let me open this. Okay, here again, you see it looks like almost exactly the same as AP invoice entry transaction. The only difference is this attachments button. I want to show you here something. I can make attachments to header or detail. Detail are these lines. I have done an attachment on the header level because like most meaningful attachment here would be that the vendor sent me the invoice and I want to attach this document, so I'll have the soft copy of this document attached in my PAC as a backup while I enter this transaction. Again, same way, I'll just come here, say open, and view the document. In this case, the invoice sent to me by my vendor. There is one more thing here. Now, these documents, these attachments, are actually saved in the database. But I can do another thing. I can actually create a hyperlink. Instead of attaching, I'll just create a hyperlink, and I'll save the document on my server, but I'll create a hyperlink to that document. Here I can double-click on my hyperlink. It will open the document for me again. So from user point of view, it doesn't matter. It's a hyperlink or it's an attachment. The one is saved in the database. The other one is saved on the server. Of course, they both have their benefits and pros, cons, and pros. This much about what applets are. I just want to show you on our site what is the list of our applets. I believe you all know our site is SYSTRONICS.com. If you visit there, under the products, document attachment applets, for overview, you will find the list of all the applets which we are currently shipping. So for all these transactions, the applets allow you to attach files. And one more thing I want to show you on our site is a slideshow. We have created self-running slideshow for each applet. For example, instead of doing it myself, I'll show you a slideshow for attaching, actually for viewing an attachment from order entry detail. Okay, so you can see here the slideshow, or self-running slideshow. Like in this example, there has been a warranty agreement attached to the item, order entry item details. There are such small slideshows available for each and every applet which we are shipping. Okay, so this much about document attachment applets. Let's move to the last application which we have selected for you for demo today. That is Intercompany Utilities. Now, Intercompany Utilities is a modular product and each module can be purchased separately. Let me describe you what you can do using this application. It allows to create GL accounts, AR customers, AP vendors, and IC items automatically in multiple companies. I'll show you the example on accounts payable vendors. Let me log into my sample company. So I'm going to RG Limited now. And here, I'll go to vendor synchronization. I'll create my vendor in RG Limited, okay? Let's say I'm creating vendor 1408. Okay, I'll just add the vendor in this company. And when I click synchronize, I can select in which other companies I want to add the vendor. In my case, I want to add it to all other companies. I select yes and click synchronize. Now the application creates these vendors in other companies. Let's log into RG Incorporated and see what it has done. Okay. Now I'm in RG Incorporated. If I go to accounts payable vendors, I will find the vendor 1408 here already created. So this is done by vendor synchronization submodule. The other submodules like GL, account synchronization, customer synchronization, and item synchronization obviously create accounts, customers, and items in multiple companies. Intercompany utilities can also help you with automating trade between your companies if one of your company is buying from another one. When a purchase order is created in the company who is buying, a sale order entry transaction, is created in the selling company. Let me show you how this works. Let's say my RG Limited is going to buy lamps from RG Incorporated. So I'm going to order these lamps. I'll create a purchase order. Just a standard purchase order for RG Incorporated. RG Incorporated is defined as a vendor in my company. I'll select that I want to buy 5 lamps and the price is $20. I'll post this transaction. When I post the transaction, what's happening? Standard posting is happening. Of course, the purchase order is created in RG Limited, but something else happens. The sale order is created in RG Incorporated. The system informs me that sale order 76 has been created in RG Incorporated. Let's say that, sale order. So I'm now in RG Incorporated. I'll go to my order entry transactions. And you can see the sale order is here for quantity for 5 items and the price of 20. I want to ship now these goods to RG Limited. So in my shipment entry, I will select the order and ship. Let's say I'm shipping it all and post this. Now what will happen in RG Limited? A receipt transaction, pure receipt transaction will be created. Let's go to RG Limited and see the receipt. You can see here receipt 87 for 5 items. Now RG Incorporated is going to issue an invoice. See, I've set up my system in a way that the invoices are not automatically created. I want somebody to approve them before being created in the sister company. So when the person in RG Incorporated is creating the invoice, what happens, he'll get a message that admin, because I'm logged in as admin, doesn't have sufficient rights to create a pure invoice in the other company. Of course, the invoice is successfully created in RG Incorporated. But in the other company, in RG Limited, the user who has sufficient rights can go to Approval Console and will find this document there. We'll find the document there. In my case, this is Invoice 68. If he has rights, he can open this document and view actually what is the detail of this invoice. And if everything is fine, just process it. When the user processes this invoice will be created in RG Limited as well. Okay. So much about trade automation module of Intercompany Utilities. Intercompany Utilities also allows doing intercompany inventory transfers. Intercompany inventory transfers in case if you're just transferring the inventory from one company to another company without buying or selling it. In that case, you'll just select the intercompany inventory transfer module. You'll select to which company you are transferring, which items, how much, and the system will generate adjustment transactions, one in this company with decreasing your inventory, and the other one in the other company increasing the inventory. There is also a submodule which does GL distributions. Now, GL distributions are very similar to PAC GL allocations, but they are intercompanies, so it allows you to allocate the balances between multiple companies. In addition to that, it allows you to allocate the balances not only based on the fixed percentages, like we have in GL, but also based on number of transactions in these companies, based on number of employees. This is payroll, US payroll and Canadian payroll employees, and balance of the destination accounts. And the final module which I would like to show you, the final submodule actually of Intercompany Utilities, is consolidated reports. Now these consolidated reports work only in RGConf, and they are the consolidated report, consolidated aging reports actually. So we have aged receivables, aged payables, and there is vendor transaction by company and customer transaction by company. Let me show you one example of aged receivables and customer transactions by company. The basis behind this report is very similar to the standard aged receivables report, not identical but very similar, but it allows you to do something like this. I can select here to group by customer number, and I can say that I want to see the report for my multiple companies, in this case for RG Incorporated and RG Limited. Now, when I print this report, it is actually going to group for me the transactions of customers in multiple companies in one set. See here, I have customer 1100, Bargain Mart San Diego. The report shows me that Bargain Mart San Diego in RG Incorporated owes me $1,615, and the same customer in RG Limited owes me $7,269. And in total, this customer owes me $8,884. Okay, so this report is available, of course, for others, and at the end, you can see the total of how much the customers in all companies owe you. Aged payables report is very similar to aged receivables reports. I will not show you. Customer transactions by company. This one is going to print for you the open transaction, the customer transaction in each company. Let me just show you an example. It will show you the list of all customer transactions in multiple companies. But here you can say that this is my customer. It has all these documents, but out of these documents, for example, TRIMV01 is in sample limited company for $2,533. And invoice 58 is, on the other hand, in sample company incorporated for $732. And of course, at the end, it's subgrouped by the customer, so you can see that in sample company incorporated, customer owes me $1,615, and in sample company limited, customer owes me $7,269. And the total, customer owes me this much, $8,884. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you today. Naira?
Yes, Lucine, thank you very much for the presentation. We hope that the time you spent with us today was rewarding. This much about SYSTRONICS products for Sage 300 ERP. Thanks everyone for your participation. We look forward to meeting you again soon. Goodbye and good luck.
Thank you everyone. Goodbye.